Hey, have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Well, Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. I love it for the simple fact that it brings the sponsors to you. You don't have to search for them, and they distribute it to all the major platforms for you. So if you want to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. Again, anchor.fm/START to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. And that's it. Let's go.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. Now tuned into the greatest.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Supreme Decisions Legal Minute Podcast. And I am your host, Supreme Decisions. Now, today, I want to go over something that, to me, is actually kind of not necessarily personal, but it's something that I see more often than I would like. And it also deals with people that have been in my life that have also fell victim to this tactic. And the thing that's most familiar to me when it comes to this is actually my very own trial, where prior to getting into this, a lot of people that I had helped, a lot of people that looked for help around me, a lot of people that I'm helping now are doing things, and then they're fighting, and then when they get a little resistance, they're, I hate to use the word caving in, or they're succumbing to the tactics of the prosecution. And today's topic is what I'm going to playfully call the art of the deal. The reason why I call it that is not because I'm a plagiarist. Just understand, I'm not a plagiarist. I'm going to show you how this is the effect for being a means of saving you from succumbing to these tactics. So, I talk about often the numbers of the average people going to court per month are right around, let's call it 2 million. Let's keep that number around, even though that's just traffic. But we'll use that 2 million number, because again, the numbers are the same whether it's traffic or whether it's criminal, whether it's civil. The numbers are the exact same. And the thing is, the system itself is designed for revenue generation. I talk often about how they're not trained to solve issues. They're not trained to be problem solvers. They're scientists. They come up with the hypothesis, and then they find evidence to fit that hypothesis. So they're not looking for the truth. And the system itself is designed to coerce, intimidate, and place you under duress. Which again, that has nothing to do with the truth. Has nothing to do with your side. Has nothing to do with law. Because what they're doing are tactics to ensure that you take a plea, whether it's to do time or it's to pay them money. And this is where I want to go into that. And I think the 2 million number is something that's easy for us to grasp onto. It's also easy for me to work numbers from. So let's keep it from there. Because we've talked about how 95% of people that are charged with anything do not fight. And how I talk about how we're looking at things, and the programming itself is designed to convince us to submit to whatever's being told to us. We're designed to submit to whatever is being handed to us. Because one of the things that we often get into is, oh, it's his word against mine. Actually, it's not. Because one of the things that most of us fail to do is make them prove what the hell they're saying. And if you make them prove the things they're saying, it's not your word at all, because they can't argue with themselves. This is one of the things I say constantly. I say it over and over and over and over again. But it all starts with you setting everything up the initial way. When I talked about do this first if you ever have a court case, that's exactly what I meant. Because, again, you're creating a situation where you're going to know what they're going to say. You're going to know what evidence they're going to present, if there is any evidence they can present, or if it's hearsay. What can be thrown out? What can be accepted? What is going forward? Because if you're challenging the accusation at every step, your side never becomes relevant, because nobody wants to hear it anyway. But also, you're setting them up to be honest, not only with you, but with themselves. Because when you're sitting in front of that jury, there is no outside helping. There is no his side or your side. It's only the evidence. So it's important for you to stay focused on the evidence. And if you're knowing it, that's where confidence comes in. That's where the fact that I've watched literally as someone fought back. And then when the opposition saw that they would not quit, they changed tactics to come up with fear tactics. And then they would say, oh, well, if you go to trial, I'm going to push for this. If you do this, I'm going to do that. When in fact that, one, they can't do it. And then two, they're not going to do it. And then three, they have to beat you first. And that is the most important part of that entire scenario. They have to beat you. But you have to be present in order for that action to ever come up at all. So, what I want to talk about is the system itself. The system is a for-profit business. Many of us walk into courtrooms and we see the court seals, and we pay them no attention because we think that, this is normal. Nothing big, nothing to see here. And we kind of disregard it. So if 95% of people are participating in the for-profit business and only 5% of people are challenging it, what incentive is there for a correction to be done within law? I had to pause right there for dramatic effect, because that's one of those thinking moments. That's one of those moments where I often talk about the bully, because all of us have either encountered a bully or been a bully. And the way the bully is stopped or moves on is the fact that you have to fight back. And one of the things that I've often credited my brother with was the fact that we all had a natural instinct to just push back. And when you get there to that point, it just becomes easier to say, you know what, F you. You got to get 12 people plus Jesus to say I did it. Because even Steve Harvey talked about, you could have video of him with his social security number tattooed on his ass. You still got to prove I did it. Why? Because some people are just natural fighters. I am a natural fighter. I had a conversation with a young lady this week, and one of her things was, if you were in this situation, what would you do? And I smiled and I told her, I said, you already know I'm biased. I'm biased because I'm confrontational. I am going to fight each and every time. because that's just what it is. I love the fight. And the sheer fact that I don't think anybody can beat me. That is the arrogance that I walked into the RICO trial with. That is the arrogance that I walked into each one of these filings. That is the arrogance that I use whenever I tell you I'm going to help you with your case. It's the questioning. And the questioning is what is the biggest downfall for most people. Because whenever you're talking about things that are being brought to you that create stress, that create drama, that invite things into your life that you don't want there, these are the things that you need to guard against. This is the one thing that I constantly talk about. Whenever I give you the inst of the snake, whenever I tell you about, it's a snake. So if I tell you that the system itself is not about law, why do you get upset that they're not using law? You already know they're not using law. So why are you upset that they're not using law? And in the beginning of my new videos, or newer videos, I went and did a caption that spoke about how everything I do has a purpose. Every step that's done is part of the process. And in the whole mindset of it is to understand I don't give a shit about winning battles. The battles are that's not my concern. I don't really give a shit about it. But I know it's part of the process. And just like Philadelphia, just like Golden State, I trust the process. I'm not going to force the process just because I'm a little inconvenienced. I don't give a shit because I know step by step, line by line, precept upon precept, those are things that I was etched with. These are the things that I was guided with. These are the things that was beat into my brain constantly because those are the ways to do it properly. And I don't care what it is that you're doing. There is a process to it. There is a means to it. Understand everything that you're doing, you should have an end goal in mind. That's why I asked, what is your level of justice? Because if you don't realize the snake is a snake, you shouldn't be surprised when the snake bites you. Because one of the things that I know is the fact that they're going to do things that are etched around their benefit. You taking a plea is for their benefit. Why? Because then you can't go back and sue them for harmless error because you've given them the coverage. If you go back and you enter a plea, it's harder for you to have an appeal. Why? Because you confessed to something. These are the things where I told you can't argue against you. So why not make them argue against themselves? Why accept something if you know you didn't do it? But here's the one great part about that. Because even the Supreme Court understood that there are some aspects of this system itself that are horribly flawed. So they allowed something called an Alford plea. And those that like to look up cases and all that good stuff, it's Alford v. North Carolina. The Alford plea allows you to maintain your innocence, but it's only after you've been given all of the quote-unquote evidence against you. You accept the plea, but you maintain innocence with that plea. Because maybe your story doesn't match one that needs to be said. And one of the things that I often talk about, and probably not enough, is when I talk about they're going to use deceptive tactics. One of the things that brings me to, and it's for my Bible people. I was reading a couple of days ago, and one of the things that I came on was Mark, the 4th chapter. And in coming back to the 4th chapter, it was a question that was asked. And it asked, why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? The reason people leave out and they don't want to deal with certain things is because the faith of a mustard seed is huge. That's why it requires very little. Most people read it. They know it. They don't trust it. Their fear of success. I'm going to say it one more time. Their fear of success is greater than their ideals of knowing what is written and trusting it. Their confidence in their own abilities are questioned each and every time they stand up. Because just like I told a young man earlier today, it's easy to have confidence when there's no conflict. When nothing is pushing back against you, it is easy to be fearless. Because there was a whole bunch of folks that was fearless until the feds came in and said, you know what, here's some RICO charges for you. Take that with you. Because then it was 13 motherfuckers that was standing up beside me that were now standing in front of me. There were people that stated that they would fight with me to the end. Then they became enemies of me and fought against me because they had no faith. They had no confidence. They did not believe in what it is they were reading. They didn't believe in the things that they were studying. They didn't believe in the things they knew was true. Why did they have no faith? Because the prosecution understood the tactics to create the deal that was necessary for them to win. They understood the art of the deal. Because if I can put enough fear in your heart, I can push that pen across that paper. If I can put enough fear in your heart, I can actually have you accept that you're going to put you away. I'm not going to do it. You're going to incarcerate yourself. And you're going to be happy you did it. Why? Because they're doing you a favor. That favor had a bunch of motherfuckers that was pissed off at me because I went home, they went to jail. Understanding the art of the deal. You have to make a decision. Is it for you? Or is it something that you don't care anything about? Why? Because you believe what it is. You have the faith to understand that you are studying. You are doing the right thing. And you're standing on law. Because that's what they're telling you you're going to, a court of law. You're trusting that they're telling you you're going to a court of law and that's where you're going. So why is it now you have no faith? Even though they told you something different. Here's our first commercial. I'll be back to you shortly. People, and welcome back. Now, I'm going to go back into understanding what's their incentive. Because you have 2 million motorists that are charged with some type of traffic infraction every month. But yet, less than 100,000 actually fight back. Why is that? Why are they not fighting back? What is it that makes them not want to be free? Why is it that they're participating in the for-profit business? Because the easy is, you know the system is flawed. You know the system is corrupt. You know the system is against the poor. You know the system is designed to intimidate. And you know the system is not an instrument for the truth. But you still insist that something be done, but you're not trying to do anything to be a part of it. You've heard me say in times before, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. Because if you're paying them, if you're helping the business grow, you're part of the problem. If you're fighting back and standing on the truth, you're part of the solution. The problem is the solution is so small, it's being diluted through garbage. It's being diluted through the deals that are being made. The backroom lobbies, the backroom handshakes. Because you have people that are sitting here and not only are they negotiating with their buddies, but they're negotiating without consequences. Because they're not the ones that's going to sit in the prison cell. You are. They're not the ones that's got money coming out of their pocket. You do. They're not the ones that have to worry about a family or a job or any of that stuff. That's you. But you're telling him it's okay because you're sitting back and you're looking and you're not fighting. And I remember there was a time when people would stand up and say, you know what? Yeah, I'm not going to take it. This was one of the songs that was actually, we're not going to take it. But now we're accepting everything. Whether we want it or not, we're accepting it. Because nobody wants to be confrontational. Everybody wants to be happy and I just don't want to bother with it. Because if they don't bother with it, they don't have to grow up. They don't have to be I hate to say, they don't have to take responsibility for themselves. And it's not a problem until it affects you. And I understand that. I get it. Because just like I tell people, I'm not for everybody. I don't give a shit. Not a lot of people are going to listen to this and say, you know what? Yeah, that dude was talking some real good stuff. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to have a problem with the way I speak. And you know what I say to that? Fuck them, because they can cut this shit off. Because if you're listening to any of my stuff, it's a good chance you're hearing this. And it's one of those where I look at the COPPA and I'm not for kids. The problem is when I'm going to get back on topic. The problem is whenever I see a 6-year-old that's being arrested and begging for help, and then the person that's placing them into this light, for the most part, they're inflicting the pain on this child and then saying, well, you should feel sorry for me. I just can't do it. I can't find the light in incarcerating a 6-year-old. My words should not be something that a 6-year-old should be able to regurgitate. And for those that don't know, that's to actually bring up again. This is not something that's supposed to be for children. And unfortunately, because of our new society of acceptance, it's something that if your child needs a translator, you need to be the translator. If your child doesn't like strong language or not used to listening to strong language, this is definitely not for them. But they still need the message. They don't need the messenger, they need the message. Why? Because they're going to be subject to the art of the deal. Because when you're looking at what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it and why there is no correction, you have to understand problems like this, they don't get better. And over time, as you've looked at it, it's gotten worse. While we're having, I hate to call them tokens. We're getting the scraps being thrown out to us. Like, yeah, accept that. Accept that. We gave you one. We gave you two. Oh, we got a couple of them that's convicted. We're giving y'all a couple of them. We need y'all to be quiet. But when you have a group that are set out in police stations of 1,000 or more, and you're punishing 3, those are things that we should not be willing to accept. But again, it's because we know the system is flawed. We know the system is corrupt. We know the system is against the poor. We know the system is designed to intimidate. And we know it's not an instrument for the truth. But still yet, we tell them it's okay because it's a for-profit business and we don't want to be confrontational. We want to be accepted and we want to make sure it's not an inconvenience to them. I have a problem with that. These are the reasons why I don't tell anybody to take a deal. These are the reasons I don't suggest anyone have a conversation with a police officer. I recommend that anybody shut the fuck up when a police officer is present. Because at the end of the day, they're not being trained properly. They're not selecting those that are best for the job. And then when we're doing this, we're being shocked because we're trying to apply law. We're not paying attention. We're not educated properly on how it's done. And then we sit up here and we complain about the system. And then we stop fighting because we think it's hopeless. Just like a lot of people won't vote because they think it's hopeless. There's no purpose for that. When in fact, I had to point out something to a young man today. And again, I'm going to get back on subject. Had to point out something to a young man today. Because anybody that knows me knows I hate to use the description of someone's skin tone as black. Because to me, that's the most ignorant shit I've ever heard in my life. And I'm going to go through it. I actually have a video I'm going to post regarding that. But that's going to be for later. And it's going to be on Instagram. But for the context of this conversation, I'm going to use the secular acceptance of black. And this young man, when we were having this conversation, talked about, it doesn't matter because of this. I said, okay. And I said, do you agree that the black voters are the minority in voting? He snickered and said, hell yeah. I agree with him. I said, now here's the greatest part about that. If you honestly believe it's so minor, why are so many candidates going after it? Had to pause for dramatic effect because I want you to ponder that the same way I gave it to him. If it's so minor, why do they push back on you so hard whenever you fight back? If the question that you're asking for is for them to go with law, why are they using things to intimidate you? If the question that you're doing revolves around the truth, why do they try so hard not to have it seen? Why is it not placed on the record? Why does your side not matter? Why are they lying about things? Why are they covering up things? Why are they not turning things over if you know that's what they're supposed to do? If it's about any of that, why are we having this discussion? Why would we all agree that it's flawed? Why would we all agree that there's a large amount of corruption? Why would we all agree Because even in the statements of not even Rudy's, but Rudy's stop and frisk, but Michael Bloomberg's statements, the minorities and in the low-income neighborhoods, copy and paste, send her out across the country. Because that's where the crime is. Why? Because that's the design of the crime. That's why you have 80% of Americans that live below the poverty line, which is $14,000 per year. I'm going to say that one more time. If it's against the poor, why do you have 80% of the Americans living below the poverty line, which is $14,000 per year, if they're not targeting the poor? If the system itself is not designed against those that are living paycheck to paycheck, if it's not designed to intimidate you, why are they using tactics that are designed to intimidate? Because oh my God, I gave you the read techniques. Again, those are not my techniques. Those are things I pulled out of a hat. Those are actual study guides from O'Hare. Those are actual study guides from a police handbook. These are things that were supposedly banned because they elicited false confessions. Yet, I showed you a video yesterday that elicited a false confession simply by him using several methods of the read technique. You can watch the first 48 and see them use read techniques. And guess what? It's not one police officer. You watch Live PD. The police officers are using read techniques. And this is city to city, county to county, state to state. But someone that's questioning them, that's asking them to do their job properly, that's a problem. But them using a banned technique because it elicits false confessions, that's okay. Because they're law enforcement, but nothing they do deals with law. And then you're not fighting back against it. You're telling them that's okay. And then we're accepting it and we're listening to what they're saying, knowing the devil brings chaos. We're wondering why the snake is biting us. Because again, one more for my Bible people, because the devil brings chaos. And he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Because he's killing your mindset. He's adding chaos to your life. He's stealing money from your pocket by not doing the job that you're paying him for. And he's destroying your family. He's destroying your jobs. He's destroying your ambitions. He's destroying careers. But you're telling him it's okay because I'm not going to fight back against him. Because I have no faith in what I know is written. I have no faith in my ability to not only know, but to execute. I ain't got no faith in it. None. Although I know it's the truth. Although I know I didn't do it. Although I know it's an inconvenience. Although I know he or she is lying. I'm good with it. Because the faith of a mustard seed will succumb to the art of the deal. I want you to understand the passion that I have for not taking deals. I've actually given, you know what, let me back up a little bit. Because I know a lot of y'all get tired of me doing that, but you know, it is what it is. Someone asked me the other day, because, you know, I am a staunch believer in let's fight, let's get it. Draw a line in the sand, let's go. Because there was even a time that me and my ex-wife, we had a conversation, and the conversation was, what would you do if? My response was, I am good with us going into the front yard and fighting it out like gladiators. winner take all. Not because I didn't love her. Not because she didn't love me. But we were just so sick of one another. It just wasn't even funny. And sometimes you have to draw that line and say, when is enough enough? And when is enough just too goddamn much? When is it not okay? Because here's the thing. I spoke about the movie The Hate You Give. And if you haven't seen it, please go rent it. Download it on Amazon. Download it on Apple, iTunes. Download it on your Kindle. Download it on something. Watch it. Because the one thing that me as a parent that actually drove me absolutely fucking bananas was the fact that in this movie there were several instances where I related to the context of the story, and it tore me apart because I remember having multiple conversations because at one point I had 5 little boys, right? I had to give them the speech, how to get home. Now, being in the place that I am now, it is like the most foreign thing I've ever seen in my life because the stuff that I tell them that was routine in Atlanta, like being snatched out the car, even on the passenger side, having a gun put to my head and a knee in my back, that was a normal traffic stop in DeKalb County, Georgia. That was a normal traffic stop. That's TV shit here. That's only stuff they see on TV. It is hard to believe. It is hard to swallow. It is one of those things where you have to give these conversations to young men early. And it's only because of their skin tone. Because their skin tone does not dictate what goes on in other neighborhoods. Their skin tone still allows them to be a target. And whether we like it or not, whether we accept it or not, that is the one thing that is the constant. Because just as they're being trained that everybody is a criminal, everybody is out to hurt them, everybody has a weapon until proven otherwise, they're being trained that young men with dark skin are animals. Young men with dark skin are here's a Hillary Clinton term, a super predator. They're being trained that young men with dark skin are overly aggressive. Whether it's true or not. And to be honest with you, most of the young men I see nowadays, yeah, they're different. You know, it's hard. It's hard to look at some of these young men and be like, yeah, he's an aggressive guy. No, I think, most of them do a lot of stupid shit because it's allowed or it's catered to or even catered in. Because one of the things that I actually posted maybe 3 or 4 years ago was the speech by the pastor in the movie Belly. Because now we're looking at crimes with no punishment. And then those that are being singled out are the ones that are now being overly pursued. So whenever they decide to push back, now it's a problem. But even in the context of that, it now has very little to do with skin tone. It has a lot to do with the stereotypes. It has a lot to do with the income bracket. Because when you look at the movie The Hate You Give, and you look at this man giving 9 and 10-year-olds the conversation on how to get home, what happens when you're telling a 15-year-old how to get home? When you're looking at the numbers, because the numbers are staggeringly, let's say, that the numbers don't make sense. I'll give you in another podcast, I'll give you numbers. And I'm going to even give you a stat that will blow your mind. Because even in the context that I give it, it becomes unbelievable. Because even today when I was writing this shit down, I didn't believe it. It blew my mind. Because whenever I get a call from my 16-year-old son telling me the police put him on his chest in his own front yard because he's standing in his front yard saying something to his friends, I have a problem with that. When I look at another young man who was being targeted because he lives in a housing project, and because he can't afford an attorney, he has to dig down and understand that, yeah, my public defender started the trial the day before. He got my package the day before because that's what he could afford. These are the things that are done, whether we like them or not, whether we accept it or not. That is where our line is. But who has to pick up that fight? Because just like I tell everybody, I can't fight for you. I can fight with you. We can stand side by side and we can do the damn thing. But I can't fight for you. Standing doesn't allow for anyone to fight for you. Only your voice matters. When the devil is bringing the chaos and he's looking to kill, steal, and destroy, what are you going to do? These are the things that are asked of us. But what is the one thing that you're willing to give back because of it? Don't answer that right now. Wait till we get back from this next commercial break. Okay, people. Welcome back. And you've also heard me say that one of the reasons why prosecutors do not want to go to trial is because they lose. The reason why they're losing is because when you're challenging aspects of the entire case or the totality of circumstances, it's difficult for something that's not built on the truth, that's not built on law, to actually stand up to the truth and to stand up to law. And just to give you real context, because I talked about prosecutors putting up baseball numbers. Now, when you're hearing them and their convoluted ideals of doing you a favor, because, yeah, we're going to incarcerate someone we know didn't do anything, but they're not going to pay us. So since they're not going to pay us, we're going to take their life liberty from them. Because even then, I've given you at least 13 to 14 people that were executed that were innocent. Because again, they didn't care about the truth. You talked about the people that got out of death row that cannot sue because it's not about the apology, because they can't be wrong. We have a system that's designed for permanent solutions to temporary issues. And I'm also going to do stuff on that later. But one of the things that is most people's downfall is the fact that you're trying to tell your side. You're forgetting you have the right to remain silent. You need to exercise that right. You need to work on your discipline and not giving a shit about your side yourself, but making them prove theirs. Because one of the things I had to tell a young man a couple of days ago was the fact that you don't have to provide an alibi. Because just like I tell everyone, hearsay is only admissible, or testimony is only admissible when it is supported by evidence. Because if you don't give an alibi, guess what you don't have to prove? Your alibi. If they're saying you did something, guess what they have to prove? what they said, because it has to be supported by evidence. But here's the one question that very few people ask. What is it that you have to support your statement? And if they have nothing to support their statement, nobody's asking for it to be stricken from the record. Why? Because you can't argue with yourself, and you're not making them stand up to the words that they're using, because words have power. Those two simple statements have power. What is it that you have that supports what you just said? Oh, you have nothing? Just your word? So now is it really your word against his? Or is it his word against him? Words have power. The art of the deal cannot work if you're not listening. The art of the deal cannot work if you have faith in what it is you know that you're standing on. And when you know, again, the system itself is flawed. You know the system itself is corrupt to its core. When you know the system is designed to be against those without affluence. When you know it's designed to intimidate and coerce and to add duress. Things that are against the law. When you know it's not an instrument of truth, why would you not stand up against that? When you know all of these things and you're arming yourself daily. Why? Because you're listening to me. Why? Because you're researching the shit I'm saying. Why? Because you're tired. Why not? That's the only question I have. Why not? Why can't you ask someone to do the job you're paying them for? You'd ask the contractor to do it. You'd ask somebody at McDonald's to do it. Why can't you ask a police officer to do it? Why can't you ask a prosecutor to do it? Why can't you ask the judge to do it? Hell, they wear Nikes. Just do it. But these are the things that we're being entrenched in. Yeah, we can't ask that. We can't ask someone that makes 6 figures to do their job right. We can't challenge the very system we know is corrupt to its core. We cannot speak up on behalf of ourselves, yet we're the ones held responsible for actions, whether we're guilty of them or not. And I don't know about how many sports people we have with us, but I'm going to talk about Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb has the highest career batting average in the Major League Baseball history. Many of you constantly hear me talking about the prosecutors put up baseball numbers. Now keep in mind that a batting average is for every time you go up to the plate, how often you get on base. The guy that did it the best was Ty Cobb. His percentage was a .366, or to make it easy, 36.6%. Yes, 36.6% of the time he went up to bat, he got on base. He's the most successful baseball player in history. Now I'm going to flip that around. Ready? I'm gonna hit you with the system shocker. Because Ty Cobb was considered Mr. Automatic. What many people fail to actually look at, because people always, you're a glass half full guy. Nah, I'm looking at the glass half empty. Especially in this situation. Because men lie, women lie, numbers don't. With him being a 36.6% lifetime hitter, the best in the Major League Baseball history. People fail to even talk about that 63.4% of the time he didn't get on base. I'm going to say that one more time. 63.4% of the time he went up to bat, he did not get on base. So more than 6 out of every 10 times he went up to bat, he went and sat down without getting anything. And he was the absolute best at doing it. He was better than the prosecutors at trial across this country. His batting average was higher than a prosecution's winning percentage when going to trial across this country. Why? Because they become masters of the art of the deal. They're doing the negotiation tactics. They're doing the tactics that's going to make you scared. They're doing tactics that's going to make you question your faith. They're doing tactics that's going to make you question what you're reading. Because yes, the stuff I give you, it was written. It is written. You don't have to take it from YouTube. You can take it from YouTube and go to UTEP. You can go to University of Texas. You can go to University of Georgia. You can go to University of South Carolina. You can go to University of Illinois. You can go to the law firm of whoever and whoever. It doesn't change. But they want you to question what you're reading, and it's the same thing in every book across the country. But what they have is state specific, county specific. But they want you to believe that's law. They want you to believe the lie. They want you to believe the corruption. They want you to believe the chaos. They want to entrench you in that, because the second you respond to chaos, the second you decide that you're going to be embarrassed in the chaos, they won. Because they're seeking to kill, steal, and destroy. And every time you contribute to that for-profit business, you're telling them it's okay, because I don't want to inconvenience you. It's okay, because I get up every morning to go to work for you. I go to sleep every night knowing that I'm going to be supporting you. Fuck my kids' future. Fuck it. I'm going with big government. I'm going with the servants that are not doing their job properly. That's who I'm supporting. Damn all the rest of that. I'm not gonna go for better schooling. Nope. I want to keep my kids dumb. I want to make sure we remain stupid, because God loves fools and babies. Ignorance is bliss. But I'm deemed to know the law. I'm held responsible for knowing the law. The problem is just knowing it helps nothing. If I don't have the faith to apply the law, if I don't have the faith to demand the law, if I don't have the faith to actually execute the law, what the fuck law do I stand for? What is my purpose? And yes, that was a pause for dramatic effect, because understanding this, Ty Cobb, the highest batting average in Major League history, 36.6%. His failure rate was almost double that. I constantly talk about how police officers get it wrong 67% of the time. So that means they get it right less than Ty Cobb's batting average. I talk about how there's a separation between trial attorneys and litigation attorneys. Why? Because going to trial requires painting a picture. Going to trial has to do with being able to communicate. Going to trial has to do with being creative and seeing beyond the bullshit. Understanding the psychology, knowing the process, trusting the process. Because I would be an absolute liar if I told you that, yeah, once you fight back, everything's all good. Even in Avengers, Vision knew the stronger he got, it invited challenge. Why? Because everybody wants to be the best. In order to be the best, you have to beat the best. Because in order to be the man, you have to beat the man. I can go through this shit all day because it doesn't change. The verbiage might, but the actual actions of it doesn't change. Because when you're pushing for a plea bargain and you're saying things like, I'm going to give you a deal of 20 years per charge, I don't want to go to trial. If you go to trial, I'm going to push for the maximum. Ask them what the hell the maximum is. Do you know? Why? Most of them don't. Not offhand. You know why? Because they're lying. Guess what they're designed to do? To lie. Because they're not seeking the truth. They're not doing anything that's going to actually benefit you. They're not doing anything that deals with law. And here's the question, why are you shocked? Why are your expectations not tailored to the fact that you know they're fucking shit, full of shit? Why is it? I don't know. Because when you lose at trial as much as the prosecution does, there is no way in a for-profit business that you are looking at accepting that means of a law. Because down to when the verdict was being read, I am a big gambler. I play the numbers to the fullest. I go with the odds. I don't deal on emotions. That's why if I do, let's say I place a wager. I won't place a wager on the Falcons. I will not place a wager on the Lakers. And most of the time I won't place a wager on boxers that I know or that I'm personally invested with. Not messing with that. Why? Because I have to be able to subtract the emotion from it. That's why I believe I'm good at what I do when it comes to law. Because the law has no emotion. It doesn't care about your side. It doesn't care about the prosecution. All it cares about is itself. Just like numbers. Numbers don't care about the man, the woman, the height, the smell, the build. Doesn't care about any of that. Men lie, women lie. Numbers don't. Because 2 plus 2, I don't give a shit about this new math. It is always 4. I don't care what you do to it. It's always 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. That is what the law is. The law is precise. And the words have power if used properly. Because even when you're painting that picture to the jury, when you're picking voir dire, your picks are geared towards the picture you're painting. Because those people are who you're painting the picture for. These are the people that you're going to tailor your story to. Because understanding the art of the deal was not an option. Because if you take that option away from them, the deal is dismissal. That's the only deal we taking. I'll take a deal. I'll take inconvenience because I can't give you anything. I'll take a dismissal though. We're going to dismiss that. Because you're inconveniencing me. You're choosing not to do what you're supposed to do the right way. You're looking at the world and saying that you are the only one that matter. The problem is, that's not how Kevin Hart said, I got a checking account and a savings. That's not how either one of those are set up at my house. Because just like the young man, whenever I was suing him, looks at me and goes, why are you doing this to me? I have a wife and kids. My response was simple. It was easy. It was concise. It was words with precise meaning. And they were simple. You didn't give a shit about mine, so why should I care about yours? Because I also have a wife and kids. Because understanding of all the people that I've had lawsuits with, all the people that have had the settlements with, all the people that I have had adversarial conversations with or confrontations with, all but two shook my hand because they understood I didn't give a shit about them. Just as they didn't give a shit about me, it was business. I was standing on principle because them fuck you. The principle was the law. If you're going to enforce law, damn it, enforce law. Don't come to me with these statutes, codes, and ordinances and the policies. Because I probably, you know what, the honest truth, I jaywalk constantly. It's a safety issue. Has nothing to do with law. I'm not injuring anybody. There's no complaining witness that I can confront. I just don't want to walk through the crosswalk. Why? Because most of these motherfuckers here can't drive. And I'd rather take my chances than to be a sitting target. Because at the end of the day, I'm responsible for me. Whether it's in the courtroom or it's in everyday life, I'm responsible for me. Because they're not feeding me. They're not housing me. They're not clothing me. So why am I worrying about what they're doing? These aren't things that I go into and deal with. But the only deal is no deal. Strap up and beat me. Because, like I was saying before, if I was to sit here and say, nah, I was good. No, I was arrogant. That's what I was. I was also scared out of my mind. But that's where I live at. Because one of the things I learned early was to get out of my comfort zone. In order for me to believe the shit that I was spewing, I had to live it. And my brother, actually, I talked to him today, and it was one of the most reassuring things I've ever heard in my life, because I don't like him a whole lot. He gets on my damn nerves. But the one thing he talked about, and he smiled even today, damn near 8-9 years later, he looked at me and he goes, bro, I never lost faith in you. He said, I actually got into an argument with my wife because I told her, if he's not getting a lawyer, I'm not getting a lawyer because he has the most to lose. And I thought about that because he was under the most pressure because he was around family more. He was around friends more. I was just around him. I was just around one of my other brothers and my kids. That was it. My kids are not going to tell me anything. Why? Because my kids didn't even know what was going on. They didn't understand racketeering. They didn't understand going to court and trial. They were too young. They were sitting there and they just thought that I was going out of town for a day or two. And that week, they just thought I was at work. And I did nothing to change that mindset. But the only thing that they've always known that, yeah, Oh, daddy will get a deal from the store because he's not paying full price for anything. But he also know that daddy doesn't take a lot of bullshit from cops. Daddy don't go in and talk real soft when he's talking to a prosecutor. He doesn't do the things that I've seen other people do. He takes a stand. And the problem is, many of my children have actually witnessed me in those type of instances. And I hate that. Because at the same time, as young men, they've also been subjected to the things that I talk about. But one of the things that makes me the proudest from that is the fact that they don't want me coming to their rescue. They have that faith of a mustard seed to believe what it is that they are principled on. They're principled on the truth. They're principled on the fact that if this is law, we're going to go and fight this with law. But I'm willing to fight. But at the end of the day, when the fight is over with, they know themselves. What can I stay with? Because each one of them had an opportunity to go through the art of the deal. They had to listen to the intimidation tactics. They had to witness the flaws. They had to experience the corruption. They knew because of their skin color, they had to go through something. They had to indulge in the intimidation. But like I said, the one thing that makes me proud is the fact that neither one of them folded. They knew it was coming. And the greatest part about it is that each and every one have accepted that the law as they know it is not an instrument for the truth. And the question I have for you is, do you know that the system is flawed? And if you know it, what are you doing to correct the flaws? And are you accepting it? Do you know the system is corrupted? And if you know it, what are you doing to rid the corruption? If you know the system is against the poor, what is it that you are doing to make sure the infection does not continue to spread? If you know the system is designed to intimidate, what is it that you are doing to prepare not only yourself but others for the intimidation and how to move beyond it, if anything? And if you know the system as we know it today is not an instrument for the truth, have you accepted that? And if you haven't, what is it that you are going to do to make sure it changes and becomes something for the truth? It becomes what it was initially designed for. Are you looking to say, enough is enough? I'm not going to participate in the art of the deal. No one else has to be subjugated to this. Or are you saying, I'm going to participate in the for-profit business? I'm going to accept things as they are. I'm going to reinforce the facts that it's okay. Because if I look at the numbers, 2 million people every month, less than 100,000 actually fight back. Over 700,000 win. I'm going to say that one more time. Less than 100,000 fight back. More than 700,000 of those win. Do you want to be in the winner circle? Is that something that you're telling them this is no longer okay? This is not the America I live in. This is not what that Constitution is designed for. This isn't what this is supposed to be. I'm going to close with this. Because a lot of times you hear me talk about stories and all that good stuff and yada, 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 yada. But when I'm speaking about these stories, I'm thinking about that thing that makes each one of us special. I'm thinking about the connection of what my grandmother used to consider the good old days, which unfortunately in the good old days they were still lynching, because it only took to 2020 for them to come up with a non-lynching bill. The good old days when police officers actually knew everybody in the town, and people in the town actually welcomed them in. When we weren't having police chiefs that were saying that it's the citizens' fault that the police are scared. Police chiefs that weren't saying it's the citizens' fault that they're being shot and killed by other police officers. You wasn't having police chiefs cover up the actions of bad police officers. You had a real brother system where correction was done in-house. And it was actual correction, because they understood the dynamics of one bad apple spoiling the bunch. And just like I spoke on a podcast earlier, and I'm speaking on this one now, whether it was the young lady who was sleeping in her bed that had a boyfriend lie on her, and the police come in and shoot her, or the young lady that was stopped for no reason other than the fact that she refused to give a police officer her phone number, that was then humiliated in the middle of the street, or the 6-year-old girl that was arrested in Florida for misbehaving in school. The trust of the community from these singular actions are now tarnished forever. Because I literally had a young lady tell me, she actually didn't like or even listen to my stuff. She said because I was police bashing. And I told her, I said, no, I don't hate cops at all. Have several relatives that's cops. Want them all to get home. Have several friends that I am friends with right this second. Want them to get home safe. That's all I care about. Get home safe. Because I understand what policing done the right way is. And I told her, I said, I actually don't believe anybody hates cops. Nobody hates the uniform. People hate bad policing. People hate corruption. People hate the fact that we'll sit here and cover up something that I'm looking at. You can't tell me it's okay for someone to be punched in the face 8 and 9 times when you have these sensitive motherfuckers having a fit because someone doesn't want to talk to them. Because when you understand that the actions of one has consequences to many, these are the things that are reciprocated by not correcting one's behavior. These are the things being reinforced by the art of the deal. When you're, instead of actually finding out the truth, you're force feeding someone to prison. When you don't give a shit about how the system is played, but you care more about conviction numbers. You care more about your conviction percentage. Not your trial wins, but your conviction percentage. Because while it's better for one guilty to go free than 10 innocent remain, we still have to look at the simple flaws. One being bail. when you have a system with 2.1 million people that are currently incarcerated in this country of 300 million people, and 840,000 of them are there not because they're guilty of a crime, but because they're poor and can't go home. There's a problem with that. When you tell me about a prison reform bill that one out of the 2.1 million people that are incarcerated, it only has 200,000 of them that it falls under, and it helps less than 2,000? I have a problem with that, because what in the fuck are you reforming? When you look at the ideals of what it is that you have to go through in order to be innocent, what it is that you look at a doctor that complied with the police because all he was doing was his morning jog. Then 39 years later, he's leaving prison, and they only hand him a check for a couple $1 million because that's their apology. Oops, we know you were a doctor damn near 40 years ago, and you're not guilty. We realize that we forced you into a deal. We forced you to comply. We coerced children into false confessions. For me to say that's okay, I'm sorry, that'll actually never happen. Because compliance comes with understanding cooperation. Compliance comes with actual proper procedures. Because there are a lot of times that I look at things that are going on and I have issue with it. But when things become blatant and you're telling me to accept it, those are things that I can't get on board with. I can't accept the art of the deal from that. And guess what? Don't get pissed off at me because I'm going to leave the snake outside frozen. Because I know a snake is a snake, and I can't bring the snake in my house. I'm not going to subject myself to chaos. That's why I tell people, if you're scared, I'm not fucking with you. That's why I tell you that. Because the one thing you need to do is know thyself. Because if I know someone is going to bring chaos, and if you're going to listen to it at all, and you lack self-control to remain silent and stay focused on law, everything that I'm saying to you is meaningless. The only thing you're doing is wasting your time, and you're wasting mine. And in this, the only thing that matters to you is your acceptance for this corrupt system that is highly flawed, that is not based for you, and that is designed to create that exact chaos so they can easily manipulate you into the art of the deal. Because the deal comes in many forms. One of those is your frustration to actually give up. The deal is to not pursue them. The deal is not for you to do it correctly. Because again, there are a lot of procedures that most people don't know. There are a lot of little idiosyncrasies that are there that are part of law that they welcome you to screw up on. Because a lot of times it's not what you write. It's not when you respond, but it's how you respond. Those are deal makers. And I want to thank each and every one of you guys that are listening to the Art of the Deal. I want to thank you guys that are supporting the podcast every month. 99 cents, $4.99, and $9.99 per month. Because we're going to keep going. We're going to keep growing. we're also going to make sure that you guys keep supporting the channel. Because at the end of the day, understanding, challenging a bully gives you the greatest opportunity to not continue to be subjugated to the bully's tactics. That's all I got. I love you guys. See you next week.
The shaking colossus.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.